the dog likes to drink the water out of there. And, it would have killed her. It would have just grabbed her and eaten her. So luckily Natalie spotted it, and I didn't even believe her. So I went out there and looked for it, and I was looking through the plants, and all of a sudden there he was, and he was looking right at me. So it took a heck of a time to get him out of the water. But once I got him in the yard, it's illegal here to do anything to these animals. You can't harass them or anything, even if it's in your yard. You have to call a federal agent to come out and remove them. But the guy said it might be 30 days before he could get here. And I said, the hell with that. So I just got my YouTube alligator doctorate, and went out and took care of business. So I got behind him and jabbed him a few times, made him got him or her pissed off, and then just grabbed it behind the head.
What?
And, put it over the fence. And then we had a talk at the fence, and I jabbed him a few more times with the fishing rod. I didn't want to hurt him or anything, but it's been crazy. So it's sort of like Friends Bar, but the animal world version.
So you're now officially Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we won't see a crocodile. 'Cause yeah, it was a baby alligator that didn't even have its full teeth in yet. So I don't think it was much of a threat to me. But people get killed down here at least yearly. 2 or 3 people will get killed because they'll walk their dogs too close to the water, and the alligator will grab the dog and pull it in, and they'll try to get the dog out of the alligator's mouth, and that's when they get killed. So we had a lady just 4 or 5 days ago in Jacksonville, Florida, that tried to rescue her dumbass dog from an alligator's jaws, and the alligator killed her.
Ugh.
So yeah, so I'm thinking, they grab you and pull you underwater, and then they start twisting their body, and that breaks off the limb that they've grabbed. And anyway, none of that happened, thankfully. And I haven't even gotten to the wild hogs yet. So you guys that have pig problems in other parts of the world, we have 300-pound, 150-kilogram hogs running around everywhere here. So I've been putting up
we have them.
I've been putting up hog fencing for the last week, and it's wonderful, man. Anyway, I'm gonna go try to get this done and focus. You guys carry on, and thank you for attending our Solarchat Zoom meeting.
Stephen, I have one question, because there's a few questions and things before you disappear.
Well, I'm not going to disappear. I can hear you with my AirPods no matter where I stand.
Right, okay. Raina wanted to know about the picture size on Solarchat, because we keep talking about, can you keep this, like the size limit down, etc., etc. And he was saying that, can't we put a block on some of them, particularly like TIFF images? Because
I can do that.
TIFF images don't open anyway, and so what happens is that they go on, and they're usually a huge size, and then they don't open anyway for anyone, and then usually the post.
Well, they open if you have software on your computer that opens them. So.
Oh, really?
But they don't show on the screen automatically.
No, they don't.
Right.
So they're a bit pointless, really. And then that could at least save some of the space.
I can limit. First off, I started the forum to be unrestricted because of the way I was treated on Cloudy Nights. Okay, and in particular, they got mad at me because my signature GIF image was just a little stupid little thing, but it was 150 kilobyte image, and they said I had to limit it to 100 kilobytes. And wouldn't let me post until I did so. I said, "Oh, this is dumb." So anyway, they were really hardcore about it, and I had a similar issue at Ice and Space. And those guys can run their forum any way they want to. But one of the things I really wanted to do was make it unrestricted. But then as soon as we did that, we got so overloaded with gigantic AVI files and TIFF files that we ran out of hosting space, which costed all of us donors, another $5,000 to get a bigger host with more space. Right now, we have unlimited space to use. But the problem is, just like Rainier said, these TIFF files, the only thing that opens automatically in your web browser, to my knowledge, is PNG or JPG, JPEGs or PNG files.
Yes.
And I can limit the software to only allow JPEG or PNG files if you'd like. And I'm happy to do that. And I can even limit the size of the acceptable files. But from my end, as the administrator, there's no need to limit the size right now anymore. You
Okay.
can put a 50 gig file up there if you want to. No one's ever going to see it because no
No,
one can possibly
exactly.
open that file.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's why I was thinking, you know, we could at least just get rid of the TIFFs because
Yeah.
they don't open anyway.
Well, there's a selection in the software, and I'm happy to do that. I think maybe the other members of the call, people that are concerned enough to be on our chat meetings, should make the decision.
Yeah,
If you
what
would
does
like me
everybody
to
else
limit
think?
it, I can limit the size. I can limit the format of the file. I
wouldn't
can limit
limit-
anything you want me to. So
I wouldn't limit the size of the files, but I think that TIFFs are just pretty redundant and they just waste space, because usually people have to then repost as a JPEG and then they don't remove the TIFF that they've already done, so they just there as a redundant file.
Well, when somebody deletes a photo from their post, if they go back and edit it and they delete the photo, it never deletes the attachment from the server. It becomes what's called an orphaned attachment. That is a photo or a movie or a sound file that's no longer attached to any post. And I go in every month and delete probably 2 or 3 gigabytes of those. Because if you try to make a post and you're not successful for whatever reason, the image files you upload still stay there forever, whether you go back and make it successful or not. So I'm constantly doing that. But why don't you guys discuss it if anybody else has any input, and I can limit it to whatever formats you want. I mean,
what does everybody else think?
Sounds good.
Well, I don't use TIFFs anyway for that very reason. I use PNGs. But
yeah, if TIFFs aren't opening, it's better than having like the little broken link on the page or the little broken image thing.
Well, if you click them, they download and they open in your software if you have TIFF software on your computer. But it takes a long time if you're not on a high-speed internet connection. It could take 6 hours to download, you know, a 100 megabit image.
Yes, but for me, looking through the forum pages in a post, I more or less just want to see it in line with the post as I'm scrolling around. There's more often than not, I will look at it that way, unless there's a particularly beautiful image that I click on to make it a little bit bigger on the page. So that's how I work on it.
I'm signing in now to do that. And, you know, we can always change it back if people don't like it.
Okay.
And it won't have any effect on current posts. They'll still have whatever files they have.
When that gets changed, if you try and upload a TIFF, you get a message back saying?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll make up a special message for you, Sean, if you want.
All right, do it.
Yeah, man, I'll do that while you guys are talking. We'll see how it works.
Okay, and then the second question was from Solar. He has a problem with his EQ6 mount. Is he on the line?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, right, okay. Do you want to ask that question?
I've had that handle solar for the last 15 years when I first started with Stephen. You'd remember that. Yeah.
I do.
It's remained there. Yeah, look, I don't know. I was thinking about that an hour or so ago. What is happening? It tends to run on in right ascension when you're going east. And I really couldn't work it out, but I've actually thought about it. Doesn't do it when I'm auto guiding or using the auto guider manually. So it must be the handpiece.
So you mean when it goes to find something, it just continues to go? It doesn't stop?
No. If you wish to move it with the handpiece to the east in right ascension, when you let go of the button, it just keeps going a little bit, not far. You know, perhaps the image might move a third of the way across the screen. But if you use the auto guide buttons, it doesn't do it. So it must be the handpiece.
So that must be sticking, button sticking.
I think so, Peter. Yeah. That's
And
what I came up with.
It's a Skywatcher EQ6, you say?
Yes. Yep. EQ6R Pro. I have another brand new one in the box, but I'm a bit reluctant to pull it out just because of that. But You would?
Yeah, because it's very common for those things to get dust and sweat and water and condensation underneath the buttons. Very common. So you could just take the screws off the back and unplug it and take out the little. There should be a thick rubber button cover that the cover sits on top of. And I'll bet you that thick rubber button cover has just got a bunch of crap underneath it, and you can just put it in the sink and wash it out with hot water and let it dry and put it back on.
Oh, well, I'll do just that.
That's what I would do. But if it's not doing it in auto guide, then I don't suspect the encoders are bad, because that's the only other thing that could cause that.
That's what I originally thought, that there was something wrong there, but then I thought about it. Well, it can't be if it's not doing it when it's when you're using the auto guider. That's only through the ST4 port, but
right.
I tried
Have you tried plugging in the hand controller through that port? Because you can plug it in through your auxiliary port and probably also through your guide port and use it as a hand controller.
No, I haven't tried that.
That would eliminate whether or not
Yes.
there's something weird going on with the port. Because my outreach mounts at schools, they got so beat up and used so much, I had to start using the auxiliary ports on them for my hand controller because it wouldn't work right in the hand control port anymore.
Yeah. I
So there's something
understand.
else.
Yeah, okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, I smoke. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it always happens when you're on fire.
Yeah. I learned that from the U.S. Navy. I know Alexander hates me for that, but I'm sorry. All right, let's see.
Well, that might have solved that little issue anyway.
I hope so.
Topics per page.
Yeah, I don't use a Skywatcher mount at all, but one thing I found is depending on the speed settings on the axis with my Ioptron mount, if you push the button, it's programmed to activate the relay for a certain amount of time. And if you're on faster speeds, it'll go past what you're after. So then you reverse and you go back past it. So you got to go back to a slower speed. But if you've been consistently having it work without making any changes like that, even if it applies to that hand control, it may not be an issue.
Yeah, sure, Brian. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm a little further down the track now to be able to solve. It's not a big issue, of course, but just annoying sometimes. And it doesn't do it all the time either, I might add. So that probably lends to Stephen's summation that could be that rubber pad with crap.
We are dirty creatures, you and I, and all of us. We secrete a lot of funk.
It's not the original hand controller, but that's simply the sync scan one. But it would be 5 or 6 years old, I guess, in the dirt and dust and whatnot else. So that's probably the issue.
All right, so I can allow GIF, JPEG, PNG, no Photoshop documents. PSD, how about RAW now?
Yes.
SCRs, TGAs, TIFFs. I'm deleting all. There's probably 150 available attachments you can use.
Yeah, nobody needs to be attaching raw images, sure. Has anybody else got any burning questions or anything?
Alexandra.
Yes.
Bill, hi.
Hiya.
Do we have a link to past meetings?
There are past meetings on Stephen's YouTube, which
I don't look at that guy.
It's a good choice.
And I've got a few on my husband's YouTube channel, which are the ones that I've hosted. And all of these Solarchat Zooms, I archive in the SPOD archive section of Solarchat because I don't know where else to stick them.
Okay, so I go to the.
If you go to the SPOD archive and sort of like gradually sort of like go down the list, you'll see like each month.
Okay, perfect.
They're quite easy to find because they sort of like stand out, like because like I think moderators have like a green sort of like
Icon.
icon,
avatar.
yeah. Or
Would you like me to
Stephen has
make a
icon.
would you like me to make a new group for past solar chat meetings? I don't know why anyone would want to watch them. But,
Well, it's amazing how many people actually do, because on my husband's YouTube channel, he gets the most views on his YouTube channel from the solar chat views, which are about 300. So it's
that's crazy.
I know.
I have probably 50,000 plus videos on YouTube. They're all massive solar flares and all this crazy stuff, man, and wildlife and just all educational stuff. And then I have 2 videos that have gotten more hits than all the rest of them combined. And one of them is an instructional video of how to change a gasket in your toilet. Okay. It's a Kohler gasket, and it's a funny video of my wife and I. That one's gotten over 500,000 hits. And the other one is a video of me and my wife talking about our angelfish eggs in our aquarium. Okay. And it's a boring video. There's nothing cool about it. But that thing has gotten more hits than every other video on YouTube combined, because the thumbnail is my wife walking sideways and you can see the outline of her chest and everything. And you know, it's crazy that video has gotten more hits than everything else combined on YouTube. Meanwhile, the largest solar prominence, the largest prominence ever recorded from within the Earth's atmosphere is on there, and it might have had 300 hits. You know,
It's marketing.
it's pervert, is what it is.
Yeah.
What is your website, Stephen?
My wait a minute.
Yeah, your YouTube site.
My YouTube is Stephen Ramsey. YouTube.com/Stephen Ramsey.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
Stephen W. Ramsden.
Oh,
isn't
Stephen
it?
W. Ramsden.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry.
that makes
Okay.
all the importance, because I've tried
Okay.
to look at it before.
I'm
And
sorry.
you can't find it unless you put the W in.
Yeah, Stephen W. Ramsden. W stands for wonderful. There's a motorcycle rider in the UK who's very well known named Stephen Ramsden, and that's his YouTube channel, because I have emails from him all the time about somebody sending him emails asking him about the sun or something. So right now I have it limited to GIF, JPEG, and PNG images.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so we'll see what happens. There's no limit to the size.
GIF will still come through, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, GIF
Yeah.
for signatures and stuff. And all of our avatars are GIFs on the forum. So if I disable those, well, I don't know if it'll have anything to do with the current.
Animations.
Yeah.
There are current, let's see, orphaned attachments. Like I was telling you, those are pictures that were uploaded but never made it to an actual post. There's currently 171 of those for 530 megabytes.
You can still upload files like PDFs, though, can you? And stuff.
Well, I don't know.
'Cause
No, not
people-
now. You can't. So let me.
Yeah,
So
because
you want those two?
yeah, PDFs.
Revision number 1.
And MOV.
Revision number 1. That's right.
MOV 4, is it MOV 4 files or something people upload? Like
So I
move-
just tried to do a TIFF, by the way, and it said invalid file extension. So
There you
Yeah,
go.
but that's only for you.
I know,
Did it-
I get the
Did
special
it say
one.
y'all?
Yeah.
I need to put a y'all on the end of that. Invalid y'all. All right, I just added PDF.
Oh, good.
So,
Yeah, because people do add PDF files.
okay.
Alexander,
Mhm.
quick question. What's your hubby's YouTube?
What's your YouTube channel called? Hello? Oh, he's not even looking at me. Just a minute.
He said none of your business.
Caution.
Just woken him up. What's your YouTube channel called?
Well, it was Hubby Heart.
Hubby Heart. I
Yeah,
think
it
it
was
is.
Hubby Heart.
Hubby Heart.
That's so sweet.
You told me that's what it was called.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any burning questions?
Has
Well,
anybody,
perhaps,
already made programs for the eclipse next year?
I think Brian's trying to.
We're
I
working
had-
on. Go ahead, Stephen.
Dr. Clay Sherrod in Arkansas Sky Observatory is the guy who's been working on people's mounts for 30 years. He does the supercharge on the mounts. I sent him 10,000 pairs of solar viewing glasses, and he's going around distributing them to all these different towns in Arkansas for the eclipse, and not using our name for some reason, and not being very grateful. But that's one thing that our program has supported. Claudio Stabil in New England, who we just sent a Coronado solar scope to, he's planning on doing a big event in New England with our glasses and telescopes. And I will be in Marblehead, Ohio, which no one's ever heard of. It's the location of the oldest lighthouse on Lake Erie. And my uncle, Tom, who served in the infantry in Europe in World War II, was given 5 acres of land next door to the lighthouse. And so he raised his family there, and we still have a house there. So I'm going to be there with family, and we're going to be watching the solar eclipse from the Marblehead, Ohio lighthouse. That's the total eclipse. The total eclipse in April, not the partial. For the partial, I'm just staying in Atlanta and giving away glasses on the street. So.
Yeah, I got place booked with some friends for both the annular and the total. We're going to Texas for both of them. I'm kind of hanging my hat on hopefully better or consistent weather, but you never know. It's crapshoot. Are
you going to San Antonio?
So we're going to be in kind of south of Austin for the and then we're going to be right outside of College Station for the solar. I think we'll actually view the total eclipse near Waco.
Okay. Well, make sure you take a pile of glasses from me and give them away. Okay.
But yep,
because it's
that's my whole plan. I'm gonna have a box full and just say free.
It's my solemn wish to thwart every person on earth who is selling solar glasses for more than $1 a piece.
Yeah, my brother-in-law works for NASA, and he just did some conference, and he brought me a big stack of them to give away too.
Awesome.
I'll be heading over to for the annual, heading over to Monument Valley for that. So hopefully the weather's good.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then heading to Dallas for Totality next year. So it's either that or Mexico, but Dallas will be it's hard enough to get to Dallas from where we are. So I think we'll just go that far. I know the weather prospects are meant to be down, better down in Mexico. Is it Mazatlan or some name like that?
We've got lying on a resort that's about 15 miles off the center line. And despite all the travel warnings, the resorts are have very good security. And I even emailed Rainier about it. He says, if you stay on the resort property, your risk is very, very low. The big caution is if somebody decided they're going to hop in a car and it's cloudy in in Texas and drive across the border, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, that's where you're going to run into trouble.
Yeah.
So we haven't booked it yet, but compared to other tropical winter getaways, the price is right. It's just a little bit later than we normally go away, but there's at least 3 from a group of us that went to the eclipse in 2017, and maybe a few more. And if anybody's interested, I can share the link. Whether you can get to it economically from where you are or not is a different story. And I'll be in Ireland, Michael, for next month's meeting.
Oh, whereabouts in Ireland?
I've got to check the itinerary and see where we are. We fly in on the Saturday morning, so we'll be traveling across the south coast on a coach somewhere. I've got to check that yet.
Well, I'm originally down from the southwest, down in County Kerry. So
okay.
That's quite a scenic area. So you'll probably be, if you're touring that, if you have a tour coach planned, you'll probably be traveling around there. But,
we kind of go from Dublin across the south coast and then track back through the center to Dublin again to fly out a week later.
I'm about 50 kilometers, about 35, 40 miles from Dublin in County Kildare. So yeah, small world. Yep. Huh?
Well, maybe we can get together and have a pint.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Pint at the Black.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll tell you, don't go outside of the fenced tourist areas when you're traveling in Central America, as I've traveled through there extensively. And they have every scam that you can possibly think of to trick Americans into being kidnapped or robbed.
Wow.
So in Brazil, when I went to the IMAA, I went there twice with Dr. Marcelo Souza, who runs the International Meeting of Astronomy and Aeronautics. And both times at the airport, I was approached by people who said they were from the college to pick me up. And the first time I actually got all the way to this guy's car, and there was 3 really shady looking dudes in the car. And I turned around and tried to get the security guards to help me. And they just looked at me like I was crazy because I couldn't speak Portuguese. And the second time, the same scam happened again, trying to get me into a car.
Wow.
So don't take any risks.
Yeah, it's a bit like when was it 2007, 2008, we went to Novosibirsk in Siberia, and yeah, you have to get a taxi. You have to go to the security office and be escorted by a soldier or whatever out to a particular taxi rank. Otherwise, you will be meeting those scams as well. Yeah.
Yep, my best friend's going to Guatemala on Wednesday for 4 days, and I'm trying to explain to him how dangerous it is. You know, he doesn't believe me. But
what kind of mount is that, Stephen? And is it?
This is a Skywatcher USA Solar Quest mount, it's called, and they were sold during the eclipse with a really crappy white light refractor on them, just as a throwaway. And it has a guider right here that follows the sun.
And how accurately does it point and guide to the sun? Out of
extremely accurately.
Really? Okay.
Unfortunately, I have this L bracket added for the PST, so it's not exactly aligned with the guide scope. So I have to, once I get it centered, it stays on it the rest of the time.
Okay, so it doesn't slew, you manually adjust it at the sun and then bang, it locks.
It does have a slew control on it on the back here. That's what I'm pressing with my thumb.
Okay.
It's kind of an awkward control. It's a little joystick on the back of the mount. And it's very slow. So
I see Sean has one there up close as well.
Yeah. So you get the close up there. You can just see there's the controller right there.
Yeah.
Right. Is that the white light that's still on it that I gave you? No, that's your okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, I took that little white light. I had to fight with it because they were manufactured for users in mind, so they don't yank it off and put something else.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that conversation we had.
It took me a while with a hacksaw, which is never fun near a telescope thing off.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But it came off, and this little bitty lunt tracks just beautifully on it. I love it.
Yeah, I really like it. I gave away about 30 of those mounts.
Yeah,
is that a 40
50.
or a 50?
No, this is the 50.
Okay, yeah.
Because I have an old Skywatcher 4-inch refractor, 102 f5 with a Solarmax 90 on it. Would a 4-inch scope be within the capacity of the mount, or is it more aimed at the 40 to 60 millimeter?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it's a $140 mount.
Okay.
I wouldn't put my $10,000 telescope on it.
I think they're rated up to about 11 pounds or something like that, aren't they?
You're exactly right. I just Googled it, and it is 11 pounds.
Excellent.
I've got an ACGTI, which is similar, but it does not track that well. I've never has tracked that well.
It is absolutely beautiful. I've got it centered, and Brian Steve, I couldn't say his name, an anonymous person that works on solar telescopes, made this external Etalon for me, and it's got no obstruction, and it's super duper tuned with the internal Etalon. And I'm looking now, and there's 2 large bright active regions. There's a medium-sized prominence, a very thick arching medium prom that looks beautiful. This is an exceptionally good view for a PST, and it's even better down here because I'm 4 feet above sea level, and where I live in Atlanta is 900 feet above sea level, and it's amazing what a difference that makes in the view through the telescopes. So yeah, it's beautiful, and the entire thing weighs about maybe 4 pounds total, and it's running on 4 AA batteries. And as you can see, there's a piece of duct tape holding the batteries in there. Because when I cut mine off, I didn't cut it very carefully like Sean does. when I got off the other telescope.
Is that mount dedicated to solar only, or can you set it up and use it at night as well? Because they
You
make
can use it for
a
anything.
similar one for non-solar, I think. I just
AGTTI probably.
Well, Skywatcher has a medium-sized mount that has a solar tracker on it and also can be used for nighttime. But they never got to the marketing stage. In fact, I was involved in the development with Kevin McGore, and it was ready to go. But for whatever reason, I think because Celestron is in the process of being sued by Orion right now, that they never went to marketing with. It's a beautiful mount, and it's got a built-in the solar guider everybody uses, the high node is built into it. It's a beautiful, beautiful mount, easily holds a Coronado 90 double stack. And I really hope they come out with it.
Cool.
Yeah. But this one, they sent me 60 of these with the crappy white light refractor on them. And I mailed them all over the world and everybody loved them. I mean,
yeah,
it's a really, really easy mount for outreach.
Hey, Stephen, what white light refractor was that by any chance?
Oh, it's just a Chinese knockoff.
I've got a little 70 that they don't cost, but if it's the same as that, I got a really good example of that scope because it does very well.
It was
black,
a black plastic tube with a plastic focuser and a piece of plastic with solar film glued to it for the objective.
Mine's not thin. Mine's glass filtered and metal tube.
This was all just a crappy piece of plastic junk. It was made for the solar eclipse in 2017, and I think it sold for $149. And it wasn't worth $149.
Mine was cheaper than that. Actually.
Is that mount still for sale? Or
no? This mount is for sale by itself, and I don't know what it costs, but Skywatcher USA still sells this. It's called the Solar Quest.
A lot more than $149 now.
100, I think.
Let's see. I'll look up on the internet.
720 Canadian, so it's considerably less.
No way.
But
it says $5 on Skywatcher's website, but it's out of stock.
I can't believe that. Holy cow! $530.
Look at how much people wait.
Man, I'm gonna have to call somebody and raise hell.
they're in stock in Ontario. I can get you one.
Well, for how much markup?
Oh, I'm pretty easy to get along with.
Yeah, 100% markup. Is that through Stephen?
No.
Is that Stephen Malia with Ontario Telescopes and Accessories you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
Stephen, questions seem we're talking about what's available and what's not. You mentioned a while ago that you gave yet another Coronado solar scope to somebody. Do you still have access to Coronado stuff? Are they still making it down in Mexico or not?
No, they are not functioning whatsoever as a company.
Where do you find all these things to give away? You must.
These are my personal telescopes, and I'm crazy because I still have two original Coronado 90 double stacks. One of them's, and I also have one calcium K. So one is a H alpha and one's a calcium K 90. And I plan on keeping those, but I had 3 additional Coronado 90 double stacks that were given to me as a sponsorship. So yearly Mead would send one of those out and I would give them away to somebody, but I ended up having 2 extras. And that's where the Kosovo director got one of them, Fran Vera in California. And this guy, Claudio Stabile, got the other one. So these are all personal telescopes that I acquired through our Mead sponsorship. And I can't, nothing personal to anyone else, but I just can't sit in my garage and look at 8 high-end solar telescopes. It just kills me, man. I got to give them away to somebody else because it really makes me feel guilty.
Well, I'm quite sure there's people out there that can put them to good use.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at them and I'm just showing them off and stuff, and that's not how they should be used. So I plan on giving. I'm sorry.
Part of the reason for the question was I'm thinking seriously of looking for a Solarmax 390 to double stack the existing 90 that I've got.
Yeah, you're not going to find one from Coronado or Meade. The only place you're going to find that is on Astromart, probably.
Yeah, okay. So there is still the odd one around.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them around, and there'll be a bunch of them listed at way too high of a price as we get closer to the eclipse. That's
Yeah,
when
sure.
everybody lists their scopes for 30% more than they should be selling for.
Stephen, I noticed that on Meade's website, they had a lot of new entries for Coronado. Last time I was on there, a lot of the Solar Max 2s are back available again.
Yeah, the retailers like Woodland Hills Camera Telescope has still got about a half dozen of them that they haven't sold yet, but there are no new ones being made. And to my knowledge, there will never be another new one made.
Coronado is dying.
It's dead, yeah, and there's no repair available. Frankly, you know, the 90 double stack Solar Max 3 is probably the best visual solar telescope ever made. Imaging wise, it's not the best choice, but for visual solar astronomy, it is the penultimate telescope. So if there's still any around and you want to use it for visual, I would jump on it because you ain't gonna see any more of it. The Lunt 80 and 100 combo scopes, that's where your money should go now for imaging usage.
Well, actually, you can see in the background I have a Lunt double stack 100, which I'll have a question for Alexandra in a second.
Why do you got that junky old Quark tied to the back of it? What's wrong with you?
No, it's just, hell, I don't know what's on the back of it. A whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, no, it's 174, ZWO 174. Stuck on
Yeah,
the
that's a
back
great
of that.
setup, man. You've already got everything you need.
Yeah, well, it's got a 4 times teleview. That's why it looks so long on there, which matches the 174 quite well.
Yeah.
But I actually had a question for Alexandra, which you did touch on either last meeting or the meeting before. You were having some issues with ghosting, as I remember.
Yes, you can have a ghost, and you've got to be careful to get rid of it.
How did you do that? That's probably the prime part of the question.
Well, the easiest way to do it is to just stick with your single stack to start with, get that beautifully in tune, then add your double stack, and then if you're looking at it visually, if you move the tuner of the double stack, you'll see the ghost image move across the screen. But you've got to be careful that sometimes if you just put your double stack on straight away, you could actually be looking at the ghost image and not the real sun. But if you're already tracking with the single stack on the sun, when you add the double stack, you know that you're really on the sun. So you won't have any problem with the ghost. But if you if you move the tuning wheel, you'll see it come in and come out. And what you want to do is you want to get it away from the actual disc that you're looking at. You want really good dark contrast, but you want that ghost out of the way. On my double stack PST, my best contrast is when the ghost is virtually touching the solar disk. So I have to sort of like bring it into view and then just slightly nudge it out of the way so that when I'm doing my imaging, it's sort of like you see this bright fuzzy corner in the actual camera. And then when I actually take the image in Photoshop, I just use, like the paintbrush and brush it out. But
that's exactly how mine is too.
Yeah, it just depends on where your ghost is. With the solar scope, the ghost is actually a long way away from the actual solar disk. And that's why it confuses me, because I tend to put the double stack and single stack on together because I know roughly where it should be. But if you sort of like move around and then you get the ghost image by accident, then because it's on its own, you can mistake it for the actual real sun.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I've never done that.
Used to happen with larger format cameras like the 1600. anything smaller than that, I don't have the issue with. But yeah, the 1600 mono camera seems to be a bit of a nuisance for doing full discs. But
The ghost is an essential part of the telescope.
Mm.
There's ghosts all over the place, and it's just part of the technology. There's no way you're going to get it without a ghost.
Mm.
But the tuning will put the ghost far enough away so that you can process it out in the end. But if you got a much bigger camera sensor, then of course you're going to see the ghost all the time.
Yeah, you will. And then you just have to Photoshop it out of the corner.
Does the pressure tuners have a ghost? Or is it just
Yes.
tilt tunes go? They do?
Well, they're supposed to not.
So, sorry, the one
they
behind
do.
me that you're talking about, it's pressure tuned, yeah.
My 60 mil
supposedly-
has one too.
Yeah, the ghost in the pressure tuner comes from the ERF. Every piece of glass in the telescope produces a reflection, because of quantum electrodynamics. 8% of all light hitting any glass surface, whether it's transparent or not, is reflected back to the viewer. And that's what you're seeing in all of these. The tilted etalons produce a more accentuated ghost image, but every solar telescope produces a ghost.
Yeah, well,
Could
I'm
I
glad I
ask-
asked the
oh, sorry.
question. Yeah, I'm really glad I asked that question because it seems like my problem's fairly minor compared to what Alexandra had or has still. So yeah, I'm more than happy with that. The piece of equipment is absolutely beautiful. There's no doubt about that.
The problem
Fantastic.
comes in when you have to put the ghost on the disc in order to get it tuned properly. And that's happened also with some telescopes I've had, and that's when it's time to just redo it and make it where it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Could I ask, I've got a ZWO 432 mm camera, as Martin does. Martin Simmons, he's not on here at the moment, but he doesn't live very far from me here in on the Gold Coast in Queensland. And we both
Queensland, love Queensland.
Yeah, you love Queensland.
Absolutely.
Come back and see
Burdekin.
us sometime. Yeah. Well, I'm on the Gold Coast, so. But look, the 432 seems to get awfully hot compared to, say, the 174. And okay, I'm employing one of those telephone coolers, and that's certainly helping. But has anybody else got a 432 camera that they use?
Not yet.
Not a cool. It's just a standard sorry, you've got one, did you say, Franco?
I do.
Yeah.
The Apollo Max, right? The
Oh,
40
okay. No, mine's a ZWO1. Yeah. Okay. But the Apollo Max run cool? Like, does it get very hot or?
I don't have any problems. I don't know.
I also have that camera, and it feels hot, yeah, but it hasn't affected my imaging that I can tell. But they do have a cooler you can put on the back of it.
Yeah. There's a telephone cooler that you can buy to help cool it down a bit. But I'm talking getting over 50 degrees C. Okay. And close to that even in our cooler months. But in summer it can get pretty hot. Like I'm talking the temperature from using
the software.
From the software, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a temperature I've hit several times using the Apollo M Max.
Okay.
Is it giving you
So there's
issues?
No, and not that I'm aware of, but that's what I'm really asking. Is there any issues that?
Yeah.
Well, I
cause
put the
or should
cooler
be-
on mine. I put their little cooler on the back of mine. It requires another power input, which is a pain. But it keeps it around 35 at the most. But I haven't
no, mine
noticed any
gets hotter
difference
than
in
that.
the imaging.
Yeah.
Well, without the cooler, mine will go to 50 or 60.
Yeah, but I'm talking even with the cooler. It's up.
Oh,
getting
really?
50.
Wow. That's Australia, mate.
That's Australian, mate. Yeah.
Because let me tell you, when I first got there with my 100 double stack, I didn't have to stack any images. I could just take one frame. The skies were so clear there. One frame processed was as good as any 1,000 frame stack I'd ever taken in the U.S.
Sounds like a good place for me.
Yeah, that was at Home Hill, though, Stephen.
Yeah,
beautiful seeing at Home
in the
Hill.
country. And the little pile of UV beads that I took to all the schools and gave to the children, Here in Atlanta, you'd open your hand and it would be 45 seconds to a minute before they turn purple. In Australia, in Home Hill, I couldn't even get my hand fully open yet, and they were dark purple immediately.
I remember that.
Yeah, remember you saw that? That was just blew
Yeah.
my mind, man. The amount of UV radiation getting through there was unbelievable. Sorry, this isn't anything to do with camera temperature, but
No, that's right.
yeah, everything will kill you there, including the sun.
So how would I know you can? What I'm concerned about probably is damaging the camera itself.
Well, when I was there, I put aluminium foil around the front of my cameras, and that
Yeah, I do that.
I was using
Yep.
Yeah, I was using PGR grasshoppers there the whole time.
Yeah, they get hot
Black
too.
case. Yeah, so I would just wrap tinfoil around the front of the camera whenever I was using it. This seemed to fix the problem.
But realistically, what sort of temperatures are we talking about that could actually damage the camera itself, the sensor in the camera?
I'm not sure.
Are we getting well into over 50 degrees? Where should I be careful?
Well, I don't know that for sure, but I know I've ran mine at 45 to 50 degrees for 10 years, my PGR cameras, and I've never had a problem with any of them.
Okay.
I don't recommend it.
Does it affect the thermal noise at all? So do you get noisier images with hotter cameras? I don't know.
Don't know.
Every image I've ever posted has been 45 to 50 degrees Celsius. So you tell me.
Okay.
It should theoretically be more thermal noise, but exposure to be a major contributor.
You were breaking up, Brian. Can you say that again?
I would just say, because they're such short images, I would think the thermal noise is going to be very small on the scale. If you're doing a 5-minute deep sky exposure with a camera at 50 degrees, it'd be a different story.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The ZWOs I have, they've all run in the 40s and 50s, probably pushing 60 at times in the summer. And though Canada's a land of ice and snow, even when it's 20 degrees below zero in the wintertime, the camera's still running at 10 or 15 in the ambient air temperature. So they do warm up quite a bit inherently.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what we're seeing. And I was just curious as to when the danger bells should be. I mean, Martin put me onto those. Martin Simmons put me onto those phone coolers the magnetic ones that sit on the back, and they get pretty cool. And certainly it brings the temperature down. But our summers here, I mean, I put spoil around it. I do all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, sure. Even with the fan on, as I say, it's getting up around the 50, maybe even a little bit over 50. But if you say they can run up to 60 degrees, well, then I'm not overly concerned. I mean, I know they shouldn't, but if that happens, well, that happens.
I don't know, but the only thing you could do would be send a message to CWO tech people and say, how hot can these realistically get?
Yeah.
But I've never seen a post from somebody saying that it got to this temperature and died.
Right. Me neither.
Okay. That's good.
I think you can melt the chip by focusing the sun directly on it before the camera dies. So. Hey, you Australians, are you familiar with bin chickens?
Yeah. Too right.
I'm looking at one now. They don't call them bin chickens here. They call them white ibis.
Okay.
And, people travel.
That's what we're supposed to call them as well.
People travel for an hour or two just to see them, and I've got a bunch of them in the yard right now. It's pretty amazing. I remember in Australia at the gas stations, they would be running around the pumps trying to pick food off of you when you open your door. They'd be waiting for you to throw them food and stuff, and people were kicking them out of the way.
So you're living the dream then, Stephen.
I'm living the dream, Alexander. You and the hubby need to come on down. If I can just stay alive, that'd be good.
So I've got a question, is what does everybody think of Solar Cycle 25?
It's pretty quiet so far.
Quiet.
I think it's doing great, man. I think we're well on the way to a massive solar cycle.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's improving as the days go by, but certainly compared to the last one, it's a little quiet.
Well, I think it's
I think
massive compared to the last one.
No,
What?
the last one was really good.
Really?
Really, yeah.
Well, my current view says otherwise.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous on here right now. Huge filament looping over a sunspot active region.
Is it gonna be a short cycle though? That's
Yeah,
what
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they are predicting that the solar maximum could be around the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024, which is quite short, really. Considering that like the solar cycle only started in 2021, which I find a bit weird.
But we usually have a double peak too. So
yes,
it could stretch
It's
out.
about an 18-month thing, the maximum lasts about 18 months from my experience.
The other thing I've noticed in the last few weeks or the last month is both the northern and southern activity has perked right up. It had kind of gone from the northern band, had been active, and then it would go quiet, the south would pick up. But it seems to have evened out a little bit more recently. At least that's my personal opinion.
but yeah, if you look at like Wikipedia, compared to solar cycle 24, at its very maximum, it had 399 sunspots. Well, days over 75 sunspots, and in solar cycle 25 already we're at 405. So even at the maximum of solar cycle 24, we've already matched it, which I think is quite incredible.
I wonder, is there a difference in the size? We have one quite large distinctive sunspot at the moment. But I'm just wondering, when the previous cycle, was there lots of smaller ones, or do you get, with the more sunspots you get, do you get a representative number of big ones as well?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
There was a massive one in the last cycle that just the the Umbra was bigger than everything in the solar system combined.
Yeah. But I only remember that one. All the rest were like small, and there would only be sort of like one group at a time going across the sun. And I think we like one time where there was maybe 3 going across the sun at a time, whereas this one just seems to be like lots of active regions all the time, even though some of them are quite small. There just seems to be so many of them.
I see 4 right now. And there's a really large looping prom, which reminds me, it's always funny to see someone that just got into it on Facebook. And I did the same thing, post massive prominence on the sun right now. Get out there and look. And it's like, 1 Earth diameter. But because everybody gets so excited.
Yeah,
it is a big one.
On the Big Bear site, it's quite large loop prominence.
It is. It's very thick also.
Does it still look square? It's quite square top.
It does.
Yeah, it's
massive prominence.
Since yesterday.
It is nice, that prominence though, it is cool. And then at the other, directly on the opposite side, you have lots of smaller little ones as well, like 7 or 8, almost like a row of them, basically.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I mean, I'm only looking through 40 millimeters, but I'm at clear skies. So it looks that way.
Well, hopefully this cloud will clear for me today, so I can have a bit of a look at that.
Yeah, good look.
I've got images stacking now, so.
Excellent.
I've got hog fence waiting on me.
You got what?
Hog fence. I got about another 300 feet of hog fence to put up to keep the hogs out of the yard.
Oh, yeah, hog fence. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that's going to be a lot of fun in 110 degrees.
Oh, it's loads of fun, especially now that I'm almost 60. It's great. But I remember the guy in Australia when I first got there that was 85 years old, and he was out, burning the cane field and shooting the hogs that came running out of the cane field. And
where are you located, Ralph?
Sorry?
Where is Ralph located, Ralph?
This house.
In Australia,
Oh, in Australia. Whereabouts?
mid New South Wales.
Okay.
However, I did live where Stephen's talking about. When I was in the airlines, I was based in Cairns, and great seeing. And I moved back down to where I was born in Warren, and the worst seeing I've ever had in my life.
So what time is it now there?
For 5 o'clock in the morning.
Good God Almighty! Holy
Oh,
shit!
that doesn't matter. I spent all my
I love
life
you, Ralph.
doing-
That's dedication right there, buddy.
Hey, I'm here too.
Yeah,
5 o'clock here
actually,
too.
Wow, love you too.
Thanks, Stephen.
Whoa, it is
It
2
doesn't
p.m.
matter.
here.
Hmm.
Yeah, Sean, it's 3 p.m. actually. So,
Right. Yeah.
and there's Simon. Hey, Simon. Simon's checking on.
Simon, yeah, he snuck in.
Mm.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about this, and then it was like, wait a minute, what time is it? I was like, oops, shouldn't I be somewhere today?
I have to set up a Google reminder or I'll never remember.
Yeah.
My reminder is at 1800 hours, but of course it's constant across the year. So we're in summertime now, so that gives me an hour's notice on when it will actually happen. So it's almost 8 p.m. here now in Ireland.
Hey, maybe Simon can tell us a little bit about. There were some questions about the availability. I know Woodland Hills still has some Coronado scopes in stock from prior to the meltdown. Are they, as far as you know, making
the
anything
supply
new?
chain is actually starting to come back from them. The only thing here is, though, I have yet to actually check or QC any of those scopes, because, well, I just can't, because they come in and they just go straight back out the door.
Mm. So maybe I was wrong. They are actually producing product now.
I hope.
Yeah, they've been going out from the factory in Mexico, so most of the stuff just gets drop shipped directly. I mean, I've got PSTs coming out my ears, so that's not a problem. It's just
Where are you? Where, Simon, are you? That you got
Los Angeles.
inside track?
Los Angeles, LA.
Okay.
Simon works for Farah at Woodland Hills Camera and Telescope.
Okay.
And he arranged our forum sponsorship with him. So we love Simon too.
But I'm literally trying to look up live inventory numbers for you right now. Here we go. So right now I have Solarmax 390 single stack, double stack, both with BF15 blockers. I have 70s single stack, all different blockers. I got one double stack and one with the BF30, and that's it for that side of things. And then for the Lunt side, not a lot.
Really?
A bunch of LS60s, MTs. I have 180. Oh Christ! That is literally it. Literally just dust at this point.
So, are you foreseeing some uptick in business going your way with OPT closing a store?
I don't want to call it an uptick. We were already starting to gain ground on them before we'll call it their meltdown. And long story short, I think it's other people that are going to gain the uptick more than we're going to gain the uptick, just purely because we've taken over more of the pro sales side of things. That's all.
Okay.
Wow. I hadn't heard anything about OPT. That's amazing. They were such a big name and store at one stage. I can't believe they're at the point now they're shutting down. That's amazing.
Really?
Well, they're not. They've shut down.
They've shut down. Amazing.
They're auctioning everything off. Yeah, they originally they were the first people to invite me to a big convention.
Agena Astro took them over, right?
Yeah, so long story short, Agena Astro bought their intellectual property. They didn't take them over. So they didn't acquire OPT and their debts or any of that kind of stuff. All they did was just buy the company intellectual property, e.g. domain names, their educational catalog. Say again?
Mailing lists, email addresses.
Yeah, stuff like
contacts.
that.
Yeah.
Which legally they can't actually use because you actually haven't given permission to Agena Astro to utilize that information. So they have to be very, very careful what they do in that capacity, because it's a lawsuit waiting to happen, especially in the state of California, because they're under California jurisdiction for stuff like this.
Yeah. I've dealt with OPT considerably over the years, but very little with Agena, but I'll have to keep my eye out on your location if there's something I need that's not stocked up here. Canada's terrible. They don't want to bring it in because of the fear the dollar's going to change and it's going to cost them. They can buy it cheaper, and they're stuck with expensive stuff. So it's usually easier just to order it direct from somebody in the States.
Yeah, Woodland Hills and Farah and Simon are big supporters of our program, so we recommend everybody check there first for everything.
Yeah, we
get it's sweet. She's a sweetheart, so we like Farah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of supply in general, it's gotten better. The only problem here is there's like vast numbers of like just junk scopes out there that we have excessive amounts of, and I hate selling these kind of things to people. It's just like such a downer for me when I have to sell somebody something that is just so inferior, and I hate putting people off the hobby, to be honest. So sometimes I sit there and I'll put the guy off and say, hey, don't buy anything. Go to a star party, look at what everybody else has, and kind of go from there. Because it is disappointing.
Yeah, everybody's looking for price. They're cheap until they get something, and then they realize they should have gotten something. But you can solve that, Simon, by just putting all the scopes that you feel that way about onto a pallet and shipping them to me, and I will give them away for you. Okay.
Geez, you don't understand how. So we have excessive amounts of Celestron Next Star scopes. It don't matter the size, 4, 6, 8, whatever.
Yeah.
It's gotten so bad that I have to pile everything in Farah's house. So it's like you open the door and you just things just fall down.
That's what people want, man. I mean, it's a computerized scope and it's under $1,000, some of them. And that's what people want to buy. They think they know everything. They'll always ask me, what should I get? What should I get? And I tell them what they should get. And I say, well, I can't afford that. So they end up with the Next Star. So
that's
I'll
actually
take all of them you can send.
That's usually the sticker shock for what most of the solar scopes are, because people will see all this stuff for like HA and go, holy crap, this must be really easy to get into. And then you give them the price of like $4,000 or $5,000 for any of the solar scopes, and they literally just have a heart attack.
Yeah, right. You can only see one thing with that. Why do I spend that money? You can only see one thing.
Well, guess what? You can only see one thing. It's the only thing that changes dynamically as much as anything else.
Yeah. And it's the most important thing in the universe for your survival. And,
exactly. Why ignore it?
Any other scope, you can also only see one thing at a time. We love Simon. So.
By the way, does anybody use IMPPG and notice that doing frame aligning crashes a lot recently? Or does anybody use
the latest version? And I haven't had that issue.
Okay, this must be unique then.
Which version?
It's the one. It's the 1.
It's
1.91. It just crashes every time, but I think it's more to do with the fact that this image has been 2x drizzled. I think it's just too big.
Maybe give Philip a PM, and he'll quite happily, I think, look through your data.
Yeah, I just pinged him just now, so I don't know if other people were having a similar issue, because I have over, I don't know, maybe 300 frames. I have to align them by hand right now.
Hey. Have you tried Registax? I always find that that's quite good at aligning, and then just export them once they're aligned as individual frames, and then they come out with nice.
Sometimes it does weird things.
Yeah. But sometimes it can work.
Well, like I said, sometimes I'll just do it by hand, because that way I get to stare at what's actually going on and check out what it is. It's kind of therapeutic, sort of.
300.
I'm too sure for that.
Oh, I've done way more than that before in the past.
I did it before I realized IMPPG could do it, so I know.
Yeah.
Actually, I just realized I could have just shoved it through PIP.
Yep.
Well, God damn it. I just realized that just now. I started, I'm going to finish this batch by hand.
The things you learn on a Solarchat Zoom, I tell you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I just did time lapses of, how many proms did I go through? I did 3 of the proms that were worth looking at. Did somebody just leave?
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, I
heard
did too.
something.
Yeah, I heard something too. I don't know if we can do screen share, can we, or is he disabled that?
If
You,
you want
I
to,
think you can. I don't
Yeah, I
disable
can-
anything.
Okay, hold on. Let's try it. So screen share says host disabled participant
Okay,
screen sharing.
hang on.
It's giving you permission.
I will fix that.
No, just giving you permission.
Oh, you just did? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so what screen do I want to
I
share?
forgot I'm not the
Should
host this time.
be this one. All right, hopefully you guys can see this, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I was looking at today. And I could just cycle through slowly. So this is the part that I was looking at, actually. But obviously, this has not been aligned yet because obviously I'm having issues with the aligning.
Wow.
I actually watched that from the start to the finish, Simon.
Yeah, no, it was a good one watching this one.
Yeah, well, I was still looking at it. Peter and I were talking on the phone for
Wow.
a good part of the day while that was going on, but we had cloud coming through. But I did get part of an animation, which I haven't looked at yet, but I will.
Yeah, this
It was quite
one,
spectacular.
I don't think
I
this
actually thought
one
it
was a
might be
big
another
mover.
RA.
Yeah, I don't think this one was a big mover.
Yeah, the other one was a nice surge prom, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then this was the one that you guys were probably talking about earlier. Sorry, my cat decided to join me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that right now on my PSD.
Yeah, it's cool. What
Then,
aperture is that filter?
150. This is a 150 refractor.
Oh,
This is
cool.
a beautiful image, man.
Yeah, good resolution.
Gorgeous. Look at those filaments.
Yeah,
Wow.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are individual
awesome.
captures.
As in single frame or mini stacked?
No, these are all stacked. These are all stacked. So I
Okay.
have to go through them and pick out the best frames that actually line up properly.
Mm.
That is awesome.
I know Val hates it when I do inverted images, but you know, that's her thing. What did he say? He said it was like looking at a picture of a lady that's inverted.
Yeah,
I
a beautiful woman in a negative view. So why would you do that? I thought it was just such a beautiful look.
It was so funny when I heard him say that. I couldn't stop laughing for like an hour just to myself because it was so funny.
I just wish I'd saved the quote because he's just put it so beautifully.
Right. You know what? I'm actually going to run a quick test while I'm doing this and just do drizzle just to see if it's a drizzle issue or it's a file size issue, which is why it's crapping out.
Thing is, I'm sure that somebody else was having a problem with alignment. Oh, wasn't it with Min in Vietnam? He was having a problem with alignment as well. And Philip said that he was going to look at it by adding in a manual set point that you can align from. So I think that maybe you're not the only one that's having a problem with that.
Well, I just ran an old version of it and it does some really weird things. So I don't really know what it is. I've just sent him the error and I'm just going to let him look at it and just decide from there because it's beyond me to understand any of that stuff, to be honest.
I'm sure he'll fix it.
He wrote it. I should hope so.
Yes.
But yeah.
It's a beautiful view right now.
Stuff.
Anyway, we're coming up to 8:10. We've been on an hour and 10 minutes now. So unless anybody else has got anything burning, then we'll end the session. And
thank you for hosting, Alexandra. I will...
Thanks, Alexander.
Thank you all.
Nice hat.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, folks. Take care.
thank you very much for coming.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.